It's time now for the political analysis of Fromm and Fuller. Al Fromm, former political advisor to President Bill Clinton, and Craig Fuller, former political advisor to Presidents Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush. Good morning, all. Al, I bet you were the least surprised that Trump pulled back on most of his tariff plans in record time. It's worthy of discussion, and I just wanted to get some of your thoughts, and then we'll go to Craig.
I think what is just plain stupid, we were putting the tariffs on in the first place. We had actually, since Franklin Roosevelt, every president, Republican and Democrat, have nurtured and built this world economic system that has made us the strongest economy in the world. And Donald Trump wants to disrupt that with his crazy tariff ideas. He somehow thinks we can go back to the 1950s and everybody can have a garden and chickens in their backyard. And we're going to have industrial plants like in the 50s where men can be men and, operate heavy machinery without, that isn't digital, that's manual. But it's just crazy. And it's not going to happen. We're not going back. He left the tariffs on China in place. Well, a good part of the goods from China, which are cheaper and really important to a lot of people because they're low price goods, come through places like Walmart. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. He's surrounded himself not only with yes people, but with a lot of rich people who really don't have any concept of what's going on. And I guess finally yesterday it must have gotten to them, but I think what got to them was the bond market started to look shaky. And as a real estate man, he decided maybe we didn't need another 2008 collapse. But over the weekend they're playing golf, and his cabinet people are telling ordinary people, so what if you miss a Social Security check? Or so what if, we have some hard times? Nobody checks their portfolio. Well, let me tell you, yesterday, I went in just to see how much I gained back after losing, I don't know, about 10 or 15% of my wealth over 3 days. And it took me 2 hours to get onto the UBS website because nobody checks. I mean, they're just so out of touch. And it's such an arrogant crowd. I mean, I think Trump is about retribution. I don't think he cares a rat's ass about the American people. I think he's absolutely betraying the people that elected him to lower their grocery prices. I think he's about retribution. He's about dominance. What he loves about these trade things is he can say, you have to come to me and make a deal, or I'm going to keep this on. It's just another. It's sort of maybe adult bullying, which he seems to be pretty good at. But he's paying a price, and that price is, and it's also irrational. This morning, the CPI numbers came out, and they were 2.4%. Really good inflation rate report, but it's before the tariffs. So basically his policies are going to destroy what an economy that probably would have looked very good for him. But he is paying a price. Consumer confidence is down. His numbers are down. His ratings on the economy dropped like a rock. 8 or 10 points over the weekend. So he's paying a price, but the clearest price was in the elections last week. In the Florida races, they were 20 points behind. He lost, we talked about it last week, Escambia County, which was made up of military and veterans, who people probably think that he's betrayed them. And it's not going to get better. And the other price he's starting to pay is, even though though they're still pretty meek and they don't really want to challenge him, is in the Republican Senate and even in the House. Mike Johnson couldn't get a budget last night. And I don't know if he'll be able to get one today. Maybe he will. Trump came in on a really good economy, and he could have rode that. He could have made it his. And instead, he decided to disrupt not only our economy, but the world economy. And he's only going to pay a higher price for that as the days and weeks and months go on.
Craig, what was your headline on the Substack today? I mean, you got it perfectly, I thought.
Well, I was watching the coverage as this policy was changing. By the way, I think we should say that on this show last week, it was said that this trade policy would not last a week, and clearly it did not. But Trump went out and said that he proudly that no president has done what he has done. And I thought to myself, boy, truer words were never spoken in this whole process. I completely agree with Al in terms of some of this domestic impact at risk. I think about this from a sort of global standpoint of how we stand. And I thought of 7 questions. Are we more respected in the world? Are we more trusted in the world? Have we strengthened our relationships abroad? Do our friends appreciate us? Do our adversaries fear us? Have we strengthened our economy? And do we now appear to have a leader who has any clue about the global trading and economic system as it exists today? My answer to all those questions is no. I don't think the world thinks anything that's been done here over the last week makes any sense whatsoever. You know, I go back, I can remember the economist Milton Friedman, who many years ago when he was talking about trade policy and explaining it, he was a college professor, he said, not all trade deficits are bad. He said, I have a trade deficit with my barber. I pay my barber to cut my hair. My barber never pays anything to come to my classes or enroll in a graduate program. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong that we buy a huge amount of apparel from Vietnam. We don't have to penalize them because they're not buying John Deere tractors or computers from us. So the whole premise on this trade policy to go after countries because there's a trade imbalance makes no sense. And then he slaps a tariff across the board. So he's punishing countries like Australia, where we actually have a trade surplus. But they're caught up in this. They used a formula that they proudly showed to the entire world to demonstrate how they calculated their punitive or retaliatory tariff policy. It didn't take very long for the very smart people at AEI and Fortune magazine and other places to say, wait a minute, we've seen that formula, but you plugged in the wrong number. And thus you got an answer, that's 4 times larger than what it should be. So that was the whole program was built on a miscalculation, if you will. But the last thing and it's the thing I really worry about, is that he has done what no president has done before, but he's done it with China. I hate to say this as an American, but I just don't think it's a fair contest for Donald Trump. He's now decided to challenge and put in his crosshairs China with leadership that frankly is smarter than he is, with leadership that may be more stubborn than he is, with an economic power that is arguably maybe not as powerful as we are, but they're close. And I don't think China's going to back down. I don't think China's afraid of him. I don't think China, is really going to enter a negotiation and give up anything. And instead, I think what they're going to do is travel the world and strengthen relationships where they exist today and improve relationships where they can be improved. And he is making them. He is making them the more trusted, stable, reliable partner when it comes to international trade and commerce. And that is an extraordinary thing. That is indeed something no president has ever done before.
Al, I guess the other question to you is if in fact we do predict a major dive in his public opinion results, at the end of the day, that does not prevent us from seeing this kind of bad policy again, right? I mean, we won't be able to correct this, at least in terms of the structure of the government, until the next election.
Well, first of all, I want to pick up on what Craig said, because it's really important about our standing in the world. And as Craig says, China is smarter. The Chinese leadership is smarter, stronger, and stronger than Trump. But the other thing about it that we always seem to forget about China, China always plays the long game. You know, Trump plays the game for tonight's news. I mean, he wants to be in the headlines tonight. China doesn't give any care about that, but they want in whatever number of years. I mean, they sometimes play the game for hundreds of years, you know, of a strategy ahead. And, you know, they want to just make sure they're, as Craig described, in a much better place. And, you know, I suspect 2 or 3 years from now, if we continue this kind of nonsensical policy, China will be the strongest economic power in the world because we'll dissipate it away. You know, the thing that strikes me about Trump is he's trying to treat the leaders of sovereign countries in the world, including, you know, people like Xi in China, as if they were subcontractors for the Trump company that he decided not to pay. You know, he gets all this credit for being this great businessman, but what did he have? 6 bankruptcies? You know, he doesn't have. If he bankrupts the country, we're going to be. It's not going to quite be so easy to get out of it. I mean, basically, Trump uses bankruptcy to avoid responsibility for meeting the things he says he was going to do as contractual obligations. It's going to be hard to reverse a lot of this stuff because, but it will be, you know, over time we can obviously reverse it. We probably won't get a real redirection. We may stop a lot of the worst stuff because it's clear that that his support, even among Republicans, is getting him nervous. I mean, when Republican congressmen who win by less than 10 points see a 20-point slide in 4 months in the reddest of congressional districts, it makes them think maybe I won't be around here next time, and maybe I can't always go along with him. So, you know, things will slow down, and it will probably be able to stop a lot of it. But a lot of the damage has been done. The damage to the psyche of the country and the tone that he's taken, that's going to take a while. None of that will happen. I mean, look, the Democrats can stop him and win the House back and maybe the Senate back if he continues on this path in 2026. And you know, I don't know what's going to happen in a lot of those Senate seats, but it is entirely possible if we have things like happened in Texas yesterday, where the Attorney General, a Trumpy, goes after one of the Senate leaders, John Cornyn. You know, if we have a repeat of 2022 where Trump gets a lot of nominees and seats that the Republicans should win, it's possible that we could even win the Senate. But winning the Congress can stop him, but it won't change the course. That has to come in the next presidential election. And so what I tell my party is our strategy is for 2026 is to beat Trump and to remind people how the people that that elected him, how he's betrayed them, and just throw the rascals out. But I also believe that it's very important that we begin now, and as soon as the 2026 election is over, we begin to lay out our vision for correcting the course of Trump, just as Craig and Reagan did in the late 70s with Jimmy Carter, and as we did in 1991 and 1992.
Craig, you have the last word.
Well, your question reminds me of that phrase. I think I've used it here before, that a president is either putting deposits into his political bank account or taking the money out. And the thing that's so confounding to me is that Trump doesn't seem to ever do very much to put deposits into his political bank account. He's only withdrawing. And this week has been a huge withdrawal. This week has caused, as Al rightly points out, Republican leaders up and down the lines, state officials, to seriously question what Trump is doing. So maybe they don't want to cross him too much, but they have large doubts, and suddenly standing with Donald Trump is no longer any great guarantee for political success out around the land. The most glaring example, I think, in the last week was where the Republicans who got on board a piece of legislation that would reduce Trump's ability to impose these tariffs. And Trump immediately, boldly, and with some, I think, anger and angst, went out and said, I will veto that bill, as though, don't go there. Basically, it was kind of a don't even go there message. What he and the people around him really didn't realize is that those Republicans held out no hope that the bill would be signed into law. They merely wanted to get on the right side of an issue from their standpoint for their constituencies. They wanted to stand up for limiting the president's power to do what he was doing. That should have been a much more troubling concern to the White House than the passage of this legislation. And so I think we're beginning to see more and more opposition, certainly consternation within the Republican Party. The polling shows it. The commentary shows it. You have more people willing to go out and speak out about some of this. And so I think the tide has turned somewhat. The other factor here is that this 90-day pause means 90 days of uncertainty. I saw a small business leader, a woman, interviewed today, and she was in tears because while, yes, she had some measure of relief with the pause, she said, how do I plan? How do I go out and buy materials from the other countries in the next 90 days and not know what the tariff policy is going to be? If I make the wrong decision with this uncertainty, I could destroy a business that I think had been around for 40 or 50 years. And so that's what's happening out across the country, which Trump, I think, doesn't understand and seems to care little about. But the degree of uncertainty that he's imposed by this 90-day pause leaves us with a very big problem and a whole another decision point, 90 days from now.
Well, we have to leave it there. Al Fromm, Craig Fuller, thank you so much indeed. We will see you next week.